A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark, chapter 4, verses 26 to 34. Passage taken from the Message version of the Bible. Then Jesus said, God's kingdom is like seed thrown on a field by a man who then goes to bed and forgets about it. The seed sprouts and grows. He has no idea how it happens. The earth does it all without his help. First a green stem of grass, then a bud, then the ripened grain. When the grain is fully formed, he reaps. Harvest time. How can we picture God's kingdom? What kind of story can we use? It's like a pine nut. When it lands on the ground, it is quite small as seeds go. Yet, once it is planted, it grows into a huge pine tree with thick branches. Eagles nest in it. With many stories like these, he presented his message to them, fitting the stories to their experience and maturity. He was never without a story when he spoke. When he was alone with his disciples, he went over everything, sorting out the tangles, untying the knots. The Gospel of the Lord. Reflections on the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 4, verses 26 to 34. There are times when it is necessary to sleep. That is, to know how to wait, to keep calm, and to sit and contemplate in amazement the seed that sprouts and grows by itself. The fruits will undoubtedly go beyond all expectations. Whoever is not convinced of this does not have faith in the prodigious power of Christ's word. Today's parable is addressed to those who announce the word of God. Saint Mark, the evangelist, must have been seeing the disappointments and frustrations on the faces of preachers of the gospel in his community. In spite of all the good efforts they have put in announcing the message of Jesus, the rulers continued to persecute the Christians. Naturally, the preachers are disappointed. Mark wants to encourage them and recalls the two parables of Jesus. Through the parable of the seed sown by the farmer, Jesus wants to emphasize the role of God in the whole process of preaching the gospel, that is, sowing the seed and establishing the kingdom. The role of the preacher is only minimum. Just preach the word. The rest of the work, which happens in the hearts, in the lives of the people, is the work of God. When and how would the listener respond to the word of God should not be the concern of the preacher. His job is only to preach the word. Rest is God's work. The evangelist tells of a man who sows the seed. He joyfully and unsparingly scatters the precious grains everywhere. This is how the gospel message must be spread, in abundance, not in a defined and restricted field, but everywhere, in the whole world. This is an invitation to overcome any exclusivism. No one should consider God's blessings are reserved for them alone. After the sowing season comes the moment when the farmer sleeps and watches. It is useless for him to get restless or worry. The process underway now no longer depends on him. If he gets restless and if he enters the field, he only causes trouble. He tramples and damages the tender shoots. All he must do is to wait. In fact, in silence, the miracle begins. The seed sprouts from the earth. The assimilation of the gospel message is not immediate. The work of a person's inner transformation requires days and years. However, once it has penetrated the heart, the word of Christ sets in motion an unstoppable dynamism, even if it is slow. Those who have heard it never remain the same. Saint Mark reminds the leaders of his community and also today's faithful not to be discouraged even if no immediate result is noticed. A model preacher is Saint Paul, who declared to the Corinthians, "I planted, Apollos watered, but it is God who made it grow."